Living in a swing state like Pennsylvania during election season can kind of feel like being in an endless loop of different types of political ads and the usual routine. It's this politician is called a liar, that one's corrupt, and by now it's just a bunch of background noise. But this year, something feels a little different. Like, it's not that this is just annoying. I feel deeply uncomfortable and deeply unsettled, and I'm watching ads that are directly targeting trans people and their access to healthcare. And it feels like we're really entering into dark territory. Donald Trump is pouring millions into campaigns that seem to fuel a culture of transphobia in our country. And it's not, at this point, it's disturbing, right? This is not just, to me, it doesn't feel like politics anymore. It feels more personal. This is affecting me in a deep way. We're going to take a look at this first ad and just take a second to see how you respond watching something like this.
Under liberal border czar Kamala Harris, illegal aliens are pouring into our country, including murderers, rapists, and even terrorists. Instead of paying for their crimes and receiving justice, Kamala will give criminal illegal aliens taxpayer-funded transgender surgeries.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners, every transgender inmate would have access.
Crazy liberal Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you. Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this stuff right here towards the end. If you guys don't know, this is Jonathan Van Ness, who's a kind of they were on Queer Eye, and they're like a popular non-binary person like on Instagram and stuff like that. This is a drag queen. I don't know who that is. But these are real people. You know what I mean? Real people who actually exist and have lives and go out on the streets and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, like, this is this is not creating a safe environment for people who look different, people who look especially gender nonconforming. It's saying, hey, gender nonconforming individuals, you are dangerous and you represent crazy liberal positions overall. And yeah, obviously we can't control the way that other people are going to think about us and things like that, but just seeing this was so deeply distressing. Um, and I really do remember the numbness that I felt the first time that I watched this video. And to think about the implications of putting they, them pronouns in a commercial like this in such an inflammatory way, on top of all of this stuff that I have going on, it just felt like too much. But now I'm at this place where, this feels too important to ignore, and I'm here to talk about it. And I understand how this looks. I know that I'm non-binary, and existing as a they them means that people will not take me seriously. It's not that they might. There are people who do not take me seriously just for the fact that I use these pronouns. And watching someone like Kamala stand up for people like me is enough to stir anger and disgust from the right. And this outrage is something that Trump's campaign to see seems way too eager to harness. Make no mistake, they're tapping into deeply ingrained transphobia, banking on this shock and disgust to rally voters. And this, to me, is not about policy. This is about weaponizing fear to win votes. Weaponizing fear. I really don't think that people understand even what people don't understand the policies that Trump is even talking about in these videos. I didn't understand the policies that he was talking about in these videos, but when I looked into them, I understand that these are important. Yeah, we'll talk about it more when we move forward. But this is more distressing, and now we're fucking with people's lives and people's health and people's well-being, and that's not okay. When it comes to policy, Donald Trump knows, he knows that gender affirming care, trans affirming care was provided to prisoners when he was president. He knows that. Of course, he did stand in the way of some of those individuals, but he didn't change the law. Trump knows that the law protects transgender prisoners' right to access medical care. We know that the incarcerated population in our country is disproportionately affected by, look at this, chronic health conditions, mental illness, and substance use. These are people, you know, people, yeah, who may have done crimes, but we also understand that our political system isn't perfect. There are people who are in prison for things that other people aren't in prison for. Um, and yeah, our political system, our prison system is pretty toxic and is funded by profit, which I think, you know, really does not value the needs and well-being of human beings generally. I'm gonna scroll through this slowly, and you can pause to take a look at it if you're interested. But like obviously prisoners usually like oftentimes will miss medication, have a lot of issues with like anti-seizure psychiatric medications, and yeah, these people have made bad decisions, but that doesn't mean that they do not deserve health care. And it is in, I believe that it is the eighth amendment is the one that kind of is behind this whole thing, that says that neglecting prisoners medical care counts as cruel and unusual punishment. So as of right now, this commercial right here is Trump saying that I want to enact cruel and unusual punishment to transgender prisoners specifically. We also need to understand that the transgender population in prison is also disproportionately affected negatively, I would say, by the prison system itself is one thing, but also by the fact that they are at a higher risk for different things like abuse, assault, solitary confinement. Let's just take a quick look at some of these things. So you can, yeah, obviously, like I said before, you can take a pause to look at these types of things and look at these more closely. But things like held oftentimes transgender people because they don't know what to do with them. It's like, well, number one, it's like we don't know what to do with you because of your sex and your gender. So a lot of times there's confusion about that. And then when they are in these spaces, sometimes they are such unsafe environments that they can't be with the general public. So to keep the trans people safe, they need to be in solitary confinement. But like you said here, they're kept in solitary confinement for months or even years just because of their gender identity. It's like we don't know what to do with you, so you could just be alone. And obviously we know that solitary confinement does not have like beneficial results for any human being at all. And we see here that trans people in prison are sexually assaulted at a rate 10 times higher than the general, prison population. 44% of people report their hormone therapy being denied. And the one thing that I really also want people to understand is that like medical organizations have decided that trans healthcare is important, is mandatory, is medically required. So we can't be taking I think people's healthcare away without actually understanding, or we shouldn't be talking about this without actually understanding the implications of what we're doing. Do I wish that commercial would say, "Hello, I am Donald Trump, and I would like to enact cruel and unusual punishment to transgender people specifically in prisons." That's what he says. Like you can't really walk around that. I understand, right? Framing trans prisoners as unworthy of healthcare, as if their needs are some kind of absurd joke, is disgusting. And this message is not just dismissive. We have entered into the territory of dehumanizing language. But I have to be honest. I have to say that when I first watched this commercial, I don't know if it was the first time, one of the times that I watched this commercial, I noticed that feeling too, that flash of disgust, that voice in my head saying, yeah, like, why should criminals get anything good? Why should our tax dollars, go towards their relief? And it really hit me hard. Like, it made me realize that I'm still carrying some of this internalized prejudice around me. And it's something that I'm not even aware of all the time. And I'm noticing that these types of commercials aren't only feeding society's biases about trans people, but they're also stirring up biases that trans people have about themselves. Now, I want to see, like I said, we're talking about the reality of these situations, not just the rhetoric, but how it is impacting real people. We're gonna watch a short video, a clip of a video of a non-binary trans creator called James is Smiling, and they mention what it's like for their likeness to be used in a Trump political ad and what it brings up for them. And we're going to listen to like the first maybe 20, 30 seconds of it. And that's pretty much all I wanted to speak on. And we'll move on from there.
Hey friends, less fun video today than I would have hoped. I found out that Donald Trump used me and my gorgeous friend Dylan in his most recent advertisement, and I saw it.
I haven't watched it, but that's a picture of the political ad.
And I kind of fell apart. And I didn't want to tell you that because I didn't want to like look weak. And it's like, oh my god, that's so stupid. I cry on the internet all the time. Like, why is today different? Because it is different. Because it's personal, and it's also different because I fear for the safety of our community, and I didn't want to share this either, but I think it's important. I felt shame about being trans, and I felt shame about being public about my transness and being, you know, bubbly and fun and loving life. And I thought, oh, maybe if I were just different, then maybe I wouldn't have like failed my community in this way. And I know in my heart that that's not true. And I know that if it wasn't me, it could have easily been somebody
And
else.
they just kind of continue talking about some of this stuff and their thoughts and feelings about this. And okay. And you know, I feel like that idea of us being like weak snowflakes is such a prevalent idea. I get it. I see it. Sometimes I do see sometimes I do feel that there are some gender nonconforming trans people, even gay people or whatever, who sometimes have responses that I would find excessive or inappropriate. Um, and at the same time, I also understand that people's responses that they have, like this response from James is smiling here, is such a raw representation of the fear that comes up for trans people. Like these are real complex emotions that we have about this stuff, and yeah, it's obviously not something that should or can be ignored anymore, in my opinion. Um, but for me, you know, the internalized transphobia in the trans community just becomes so much more evident when we see, especially like other trans people, um, kind of claiming that those with neo pronouns or blue hair or people like James is smiling, who's maybe more openly gender nonconforming, um, they're trying to rock the boat too much, and this is making society hate us more. And I think that was what they were trying to get at. Like if I was different, maybe this wouldn't have happened and I wouldn't have hurt my community like this. Maybe if I was just quieter, maybe if I tone myself down, maybe this would be better for everyone. And I'm really trying to think about the implications of a decision like this, to say like I'm going to shove myself down and hide who I really am to protect like the wider trans community or something like that. And I understand where that comes from, but I also yeah, but I think we also have to understand that trans people have not been accepted in Western society and probably won't be for a really long time. So like what's the point? What's the point of hiding, going away and hiding in the shadows? Like do we think that that's going to make us more accepted? Do you think I think the only thing that'll come of that is it'll make some people more comfortable. Maybe they won't have to see anything that makes them uncomfortable, like a gender nonconforming person. But that's not how we're going to find any type of peace in society. Um, but yeah, what do you think? How do you think that we're supposed to find peace in society? Tell me. I want you to tell me why you feel that hiding yourself feels safer. And I'm asking, and I'm saying that because if you're a trans queer person who's watching this video, I know that you felt that in some way. You felt that need to hide. That's an assumption. And if you haven't felt that need to hide, please tell me as well. Tell me that I'm wrong. Really want to hear about it. Um, but regardless of the disgusting rhetoric I'm seeing in America today, the one thing that I will never say is that the right will eradicate us. They could ever eradicate us. No matter how much they fearmonger, trans people have always existed and will always exist. Obviously, maybe the ways that the culture has identified us and stuff like that will shift, has shifted, but we've always existed. And perhaps I will never live to see a world that is as warm and accepting to gender nonconforming and trans people as I would hope, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to dim my light. And maybe if the work that we put in right now might help the future generations of trans people, just like the queer and trans ancestors who came before us did the same thing for me. And I just honestly want to take a moment to recognize that and remember that and to honor their memory. Those with big names that we all know and we all remember, we kind of all understand their contribution to the gay queer community, but also those who were on the sidelines but still, kept hope in their hearts but maybe didn't get famous or anything like that. All of them played a part in this world being as accepting as it is. I would say this is better in some ways, maybe better and worse in different ways, but um we do have some more legal protection. So like there are some things that have improved, and that's important to recognize and to be grateful to our ancestors, our queer ancestors, for that work that they have put in, and also to remind us that if we lose hope, that is I don't remember what the song is called. Um but I've shared this phrase. I'm actually going to look it up. Uh it's a okay. It's a song called I Am Willing. And there's one line of the song that that just like plays in my head whenever I get in moments like this, and I wanted to share it with you. Um, might as well just show it to you guys because I pulled it up. Uh, okay. I really hope that I did this correctly and was able to show you guys all the things that I was trying to show you, because I might have messed this video up. And if I did, I'll go back in and fix it afterwards. Um, but here it is. The lyrics go, I am open and I am willing, and to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up in the light of change. And it's that this is the phrase. The idea that I would lose hope. The idea that I would lose hope that our future could look better. The idea that I would lose hope that things could change and that people could change dishonors the work of those who came before us. Dishonors, the hope that they had and they held. So I definitely remember them every day almost, when I feel these overwhelming types of emotions. But regardless of, uh, yeah, regardless of all the stuff that we see, we got to figure out what we do. And what do we do? How do we respond as trans people? And there are a lot of ways that I could answer this, but the most important thing is that you got to understand that allowing these unprocessed emotions, these unprocessed stress responses, even to remain dormant in your body, is one of the things that contributes to a higher rate of illness, like mental, chronic, all those other things in the queer community, which is a marginalized community, than the than the general public. And so when you see one of these commercials and you have these feelings, or you're just thinking about the state of anti-trans rhetoric in the US or something like that, take a second, stop, pause, reflect, feel, like touch your body and see how you're feeling. And I know that like this stuff can sound super cheesy, but it's important. If you're in a safe spot to do so, pause, allow your emotions to exist, allow them to take up space, breathe into them. Try not to judge those emotions or push those feelings away, and take some time to see what that feeling is asking for you to do and attend to that. And maybe you need to cry or scream or something, or maybe you just need to journal it out, or like me, spend some time organizing some of your thoughts and sharing them with the public. Just maybe to connect with some strangers or something like that. Um, but the most important thing is that attending to your own emotions is vital to your well-being. And what better way, to stick it to bigots than by living a long, happy, healthy life? So what I want to know now is how do you deal with the increase of anti-trans rhetoric in politics? So let me know down below, share a comment, and also share this video with anyone who you think would enjoy it. And if you have any questions or anything, that would also be great. But we greatly appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us for a little bit. Please also check the description for the Discord server to also party with us there and get notified when I do live streams. I do live streams over here and also a lot of them over on TikTok about a variety of different topics. Thank you for hanging out and engaging with me today. Peace and love. We'll talk soon.